Good. Whoops. I think I forgot to play the music coming in live there, so sorry about that if I messed up the waiting room. What's up, Corby? How are you? Catching me the day after my birthday, so a little slow this morning, but trying to get back in the swing of things here. Good morning, Koch. How you doing? The Buita. What's up, Max? How you doing? Good to see you guys. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. I am old as balls now, and it hurts. It hurts so bad. All right. Let's jump right into things here. I named the stream after this tweet. I don't know if you guys have been following the Tesla news lately, but couple big tweets coming in. The fleet will wake up via over-the-air software update, and then slowly, then all at once. The market is foaming at the mouth at the idea of the robo fleet going live, and I got to tell you, I'm very excited about this stuff. We bought Tesla in the Discord last week, a couple weeks ago as well. I am long to the tits on this thing. In my post crypto arc, and it feels so good right now. It feels so good. Yes, Max, I am 41 now, which is just terrible. You could look like this too if you leverage trade perps all day and don't sleep. It's my secret. Anyway, Tesla chart is flirting with what could just be a glorious breakout here, and I am very very excited to to see this go up. I am kind of basically viewing this entire area here. This is like the 2022 sell-off, right? This is just a gigantic high time frame order block, as far as I'm concerned, which we have closed above a couple monthly candles. You can see the retest of that area there. I am hoping we are now in the expansion phase away from this large zone. I do think it's possible that something could happen next year, and maybe we could do that. I told the premium guys last week. This is basically like the mortgage my house area. If I get to buy this back here sub 200, which is always possible, but I'm looking to the upside now, daring to dream big. I think there's a couple ways to think about where this might be going. You've got kind of your basic one-to-one sort of fib extension here, which would put us around 726 or so, which is still a modest 52% from here. I think you could do a standard kind of fib extension. I think I got one of those in here in the presets. I don't really use them much, to be honest. I use other kinds of extensions. Do I have a standard little fib extension? Yeah. So your kind of bare min thing here is probably 605. Your 2.618 920, also a very juicy target. I don't really like to use those. I like to use extensions off of particular zones, particular areas of manipulation. For example, this fractal here is very interesting. This is basically the final sort of sell-off in late 2022. You can see we close above that area right here in December, retest, and then go. This is interesting to me because you can see the 2 target, which is kind of like my main target usually when I'm trading these moves, is exactly the same as the 1, right? So I got pretty high conviction that we're going to 726. Hopefully next year would be really, really freaking cool and good for my retirement account. And then the sort of dare to dream targets, which I think are also attainable. You've got the 2 extension from that high time frame zone that puts you at 1041. And then if we can tag the 4 from this manipulation leg here, that's 1141. So this looks so good. And it gives me great pleasure to be long this stock. Would highly recommend, well, not financial advice, but you know, this is what I'm doing. I recommend myself be long this stock, and so I am long. But what's interesting right now is that everything doesn't look like Tesla. There's a lot of kind of sus stuff happening in the markets, right? If we pop open S&P 500, I can make a case still that this looks a little sketchy. I was definitely worried before about us coming back into 6,000, and we ended up having a pretty strong close to the month, but like we're not like 100% out of the woods on this. We did put in a sweep of the previous month's high last week there, and this weekly pattern here, it looks a little similar to this kind of pre-tariff thing. So maybe some cause for concern. I personally don't think this is dumping at the moment. I actually think we're gonna come down into this order block here. This is my base case, is that we I think we just had a really nice kind of weekly expansion candle here. We got a little bit of consolidation above this zone. So I think we pull back for sure, but I think something in here and then higher is probably my base case. Trying to think where I get concerned here. Because look, there is this scenario where this just actually just starts nuking, and that wouldn't be fun. The reason I don't think that that's going to happen is because I actually think a lot of the weakness that I see in this chart, like if I can squint and see weakness, a lot of that is coming from NVIDIA specifically, right? And what's interesting is if you look at something like YM, the Dow Jones, right? Like if I zoom out and look at the Dow Jones chart, this looks a lot healthier than the S&P chart, right? And the reason why is because NVIDIA is like way less weighted in this particular chart. So when I kind of pull NVIDIA out, the rest of the market looks pretty good. Like if we chart YM versus ES, we've got kind of like a little reversal pattern going on here on the monthly. You can see there's kind of pretty clear momentum to the upside on the daily, and we see a similar thing if we look at the Russell, which is kind of our small caps, right, versus um, versus ES, right? This looks like a bottom to me. It looks like we're heading up, and I don't think Nvidia is in the Russell at all. And if I just kind of pull up a Russell chart, you know, we're long the Russell right now for a trade because it's, I don't know, it just looks like it's in the process of basically a blue sky breakout here. We get a couple monthly closes above, little wick into this fair value gap, close back above, retest support. I mean, this looks like it wants to go higher. So, you know, it's kind of interesting balancing all of these ideas. I don't think it's so simple as all stocks go up, all stocks go down, all crypto go up, all crypto go down. Maybe crypto's a little more correlated. We'll talk about that later. You know, but I'm short Nvidia right now, just as a portfolio hedge, and have been for a while. Like the Nvidia chart is, this is a monthly. This is a pretty gross chart, right? Like this is an obvious bearish engulfing candle, and it doesn't look so hot, right? Um, my eye starts immediately looking down, you know, towards this area here when I see a candle like this. If we kind of zoom in a little bit more, you can kind of see our daily candles alongside the you know, the monthly here. You kind of see the low time frame and the high time frame at the same time. This was the kind of news pump, right, on that like mega great earnings. Actually, excuse me, this one was the news pump on the mega great earnings, and then we just immediately kind of reverse that, right? And in reversing that, we closed below this sequence of up close candles here. This is a bearish change in the state of delivery in the context of a bearish monthly candle bias. We had like kind of a bit of like a kind of nasty gap here just from this weird candle, and you can see last week price kind of retraced into that gap. I'm expecting us to probably kind of do a little move up this week, and then it looks like we're going to start dumping, honestly. And I'm trying to think, like, can the market hold up with Nvidia pulling back like this? And the answer seems to be yes so far. Like Tesla looks okay. There are other strong names like Google. Google chart I think looks pretty good. Meta looks pretty good. I mean, let's take a look at some of these other stock charts, right? So Google, just monthly expansion candle, monthly expansion candle, monthly expansion candle, right? This is a really, really tasty looking asset. This highlighted area is a weekly fair value gap. So this looks like a really good place to get long to me for continuation, somewhere in this kind of like 305-ish range. Because like, again, like this is the last monthly candle. It's just about as bullish of a candle as it gets. So pretty normal to have a little consolidation, cool off, move to rebalance this area. I think, you know, absolutely worst case, like maybe we could get a pullback into this kind of origin zone here, which I think is a screaming buy. But I would be betting on some sort of like sweep of the prior week low here. So if I get some sort of sweep of the prior week low and some sort of a bullish setup on the 4-hour chart here, I would say that's go time to, you know, at a minimum, take a trade to this high, right? But for you guys who are kind of just like sitting back, investing and buying high time frame stuff, like I would say like high time frame Google looks much stronger than Nvidia. I would be buying Google over Nvidia, and I would be buying it here. I think buying it like right around here is a good level to buy it, and I think if you get 281, it's also a good level to buy it, right? So Tesla looks strong as hell. The Buita, would you market buy Tesla here? I mean, depends on your time horizon, right? Like if you are just kind of waiting for 1,000, you know, it's kind of more important to be involved than to like, oh, do I enter at 475? Do I enter at 450? Missing the trade would be the worst thing. As a general rule, I don't like telling people to to enter longs at range highs, right? Until because typically you at least have a pullback off the range high. So I would say that probabilistically speaking, you get a pullback off the range high here. There is a gap. This is a daily gap, a new week opening gap, right? So there's a very high probability, even if we come up here, that at some point price kind of wicks down into that gap and goes. So that'll be an interesting spot to enter, but I wouldn't be 0% in the trade, right? I would put at least like 10 or 20% of the position on, just so you have something and your brain isn't like killing you if it just starts pumping every day, because that's like the worst. So you got to always buy a little bit of the FOMO insurance, but I would definitely be looking for a move back down sub 470 or so, if this breakout sticks. There is also a scenario where the breakout doesn't stick, right? You kind of come back in here and then maybe you wipe some of this and then go back up. I don't really want to see that. It's possible, but I would, greatly prefer that this is the moment. We took some longs in the Discord like right around here last week because I was saying like I think this is probably the move to go to the highs, and we did go to the highs. So now we're just waiting to see if the breakout sticks, right? What else in Stockland is good? What else is bad? Microsoft looks kind of bad to me. Like this is pretty ugly. If I zoom out, whoopsie. If I zoom out here, I am so bad at using my keyboard. Stop it. All right, there we go. This just looks kind of, double toppy. This is a huge like imbalance here. So honestly, price at any point could kind of just bounce and go. It doesn't have to go all the way back to the origin here. Curious what this looks like on a 3-month candle. Yeah, so this is actually like an interesting spot to be looking for Microsoft buys. Actually, you've got a couple really nice areas here. Like this is a 3-month fair value gap, and you have the high here, which is intact and unswept. So very high probability for price to kind of come into this area and then make another run at a minimum at this 555 area. So on the 3-month chart, like this actually looks quite good. And then you've got this range high here for Confluence. This monthly low is still chilling here. I think it would be surprising to me if we just left this low and then went up to the high. But we do have this weekly reversal candle. So I guess it's possible, but like the best setup I could conceive of here on Microsoft would be for us to come back down and fully sweep out this low and then put in some sort of bullish CSD here and then like take that up. That would be a really, really, really juicy trade to me, because you could frame it maybe something like this, and you'd be looking at like 6-7 to 1 trade or something, depending on exactly where your entry is. So that's kind of interesting. This is, I mean, this is such a nasty little thing here, but we didn't take this high, so I don't know. Like I normally I would be kind of bearish at this, but like this just looks like equal highs. It looks like a really nice liquidity draw, and again, like this is all like very high time frame bullish area. So although this looks nasty on the daily, I think it's actually a really good place to look for long. So this is probably something I'm going to be taking a look at in the Discord this week. So looks interesting. Meta looks really interesting to me. So what you've got on Meta here, let me clean this chart up. A lot of stuff happening on Meta around this 3-month candle here. So there's your range high, there's your range low. Obviously, this is all just bullish, 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 bullish. You're looking for a spot to be like long here, right? On like a multi-week, multi-month trade. When you see something like this is all like really, really, really good. You did get like a really classic sort of fractal here where you kind of swing fail the high with one of these kind of little doji candles, wicks, and then you can see we came down and tagged the mid-range. So usually when you get this, you at least get a move to the mid-range. I wouldn't be expecting this move to go to the range low of this candle. This is just like a very, 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 very bullish candle in the context of bullishness. There's no other area that we kind of like swept out here. So I'm just kind of expecting continuation from around the mid-range as like my base case, right? If you come to the monthly, there's a couple things of note. One is you have like a really nice kind of hammer candle here. This is like a really nice reversal signature, but there's this monthly bearish fair value gap right above it. And so even though you get this reversal, you are expecting some sort of rejection off of this imbalance, right? But at that point, once the rejection happens, you're looking for like a higher low to form, and then you're looking to take this up. So on the weekly, this looks interesting because I see, this weekly fair value gap here. And if I put on like OTE from that low to this high, you can see this, our golden pocket here, the 0.618, 0.79 correlates pretty nicely with this like weekly imbalance. So I like buys like below 636 or so. People who are kind of low maintenance, you're not like getting really, really specific with your entries. I think that's a high probability entry for like a trade that you could take this all the way up to 800 and maybe beyond. I think that Meta has been like a big beneficiary in the eyes of the market from the downfall of OpenAI. And I think the fact that, DeepSeek has basically just made all of this shit like open source, it's kind of covering for a lot of the failures of Meta to be able to develop anything useful with a llama or whatever their own model is. And they are sitting on this like massive pile of data and users and all of these things. And I think it's an interesting trade. It's like a really, really interesting trade from here. So I like meta longs down here, especially like sub 637 kind of, 611, 637 kind of area. Looks like really, really interesting, really, really sexy to me. What else was on my big time stock list here? Rivian. So we've been Rivian fans for a while. Rivian looks amazing. I mean, been following this stock since April. You can kind of see all our random little entries here. Main target we've been targeting for a while is still 22. That's the 2024 high. That's the weekly imbalance here. But in reality, I think this looks good for a lot more upside than that. Let me pull up the 3-month chart here. Yeah. When I look at the 3-month chart, I think that it's kind of greedy to be taking this much further than 22. Like if I was in a trade right now, and how were you, I would be like taking a ton off at $22. This candle high. Because this is still like all bearish, pullback, bearish, right? We're all kind of trading within the context of this candle. So until we get like a close above 22 on a quarterly basis, like if we get a strong yearly close then this starts looking interesting for even higher, because then you would have a close above this bearish yearly sweep candle with that 22 close. And then I think we can start getting greedier for higher targets. But as of now, I think you ride this to 22. I think we gave some entries down at like 11 and some other entries around like 13 in the Discord. So really, really, really nice trade. Looking strong today. Maybe just riding with the Tesla wave. But yeah, loving it, loving it. Looks really sexy. Thank you, Marty, for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it, buddy. Going to Chuck E. Cheese. Oh, with the kids? Dude, I love Chuck E. Cheese when I was a kid. Oh my God. Happiest place ever. No better place on earth as a child. Um, what else did I do in Stockland? Oh, okay. So made another kind of a very speculative buy last week, but decided to add some Tilray to the portfolio. Tilray, one of the most glorious looking stock charts you'll ever see. This is the Canadian marijuana company. It is just breathtakingly down, but it is looking like Trump is going to kind of deschedule marijuana next year. And from a technicals perspective, like the chart actually looks like kind of okay to me. We had like a big move off the bottom in the summer, right? Market decided maybe something's happening, and now we're kind of in the process of this retrace, right? But we get this kind of critical demand area here, right? And then this zone is a breaker on the daily. Big move closing through that, breaking the lower time frame market structure from an area where we might be expecting a reversal. So I bought some, and it's interesting to me because I think like 29 is like a pretty solid target. Like I think we could hit 29 next year if we get some kind of positive things coming out from the White House. That's a nice gain from here. It's a solid 162% or so. It is fun to think about what this thing could go to if we had a full blown mania. There's still this kind of rejection candle up here. Like even if we don't ever put in like a higher high, like this is still like a very, very, very large move. It's probably like 3,000% or so to $400. I'm not saying will go there, but a guy can dream. But I do like it as like a potential 2x, 2.5, 2x, 2.5x, maybe 3x. So I threw a little bit of it in the portfolio there just for some hot sauce. Some shits and giggles. Other stuff to note in TradFi land, gold continues to just be incredible. If you guys don't own gold, stop, get some help, buy some gold. I don't even have to do any TA in this chart. It's just like the most ridiculous chart I've ever seen, honestly. Although silver now, worth noting, silver has completely blue sky breakout here with the closure last month, November. This just looks wild. I'm trying to figure out how to even get involved in this freaking thing at the moment. Like this thing is so bullish that we closed November and like basically never even went back into the November candle thus far. So I would like to wait for some sort of like pullback, but any pullback is just gonna be a screaming buy. I think this just looks like so sick. You really want to cry? Have a good look at the Bitcoin silver ratio, which is just really a sight to behold there. That's the boomers have won. We have lost. Oh my God. Bitcoin is down 62% versus silver since the peak in December. That's a feels bad man right there. That is a big feels bad man. Speaking of Bitcoin, let's talk about the orange coin. I have been hedged. I hedged Bitcoin on the Discord up here last week. I think that this low at a minimum is getting taken, and open to the idea that maybe we could kind of form some sort of bottom in there. I didn't I didn't like this low. I was telling the guys these lows where you put in the low and it's never even swept and you trade straight away from it. They very frequently come back and get swept. There's an old weekend low chilling here that never got taken. So I really still do like Bitcoin down, sub 83, and then hopefully there can be some relief. People were getting kind of stoked on the bounce and everything last week. And I do think some coins like selectively like okay for trades, but like important to note, like this is the last monthly candle, right? So we could rally like, get a 17% rally from here. It would just be like a bounce to the mid range of that candle. It would change absolutely nothing about the bearish picture of everything. Like I still think Bitcoin has a chance of putting in a bottom here, like kind of 73-ish thousand with a sweep of this low. That would probably be the most bullish outcome. We get like a little just kind of kiss of death sweep where it just kind of like barely nicks it and then moves really hard. I think that's still a possibility. I do, but I'm worried about this. I'm still worried about this chart just coming all the way back down and doing something like that. It just looks so bad. And the main thing I've been telling people is to just like not be like overweight crypto, not be overweight Bitcoin. I know a lot of people out there are still like really, 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 really overweight. And if I show you the Bitcoin gold chart, the Bitcoin silver chart, the Bitcoin Nasdaq chart, which was the thing that made me kind of de-risk in the first place with this kind of nasty distribution above the range high here. Again, like chance of bouncing at the mid-range still another 10% down. Liquidity down here at the range lows, this is 65%, so 65% versus the NASDAQ would be pretty painful if you're sitting here 80% of your net worth in Bitcoin and you're not buying AI stocks, and AI stocks go to the moon and Bitcoin goes down like 50%. Like that would be super, super nasty. Others, BTC, if I clear this out, still in an area of interest, I would say. I could see a bounce coming here, maybe even a very large bounce. I mean, this is still, higher low structure. Like if you were going to be bullish on alts versus BTC at any point in time in the last like 6 years, this is at least the area to do it from. The fact that the Russell is breaking out and that the Russell seems to be outperforming the other indices is maybe a point in favor of alts. This is probably not going to be a great looking yearly candle here. Did we sweep prior year like low? I'm actually not sure if we swept this. We got low 76408. This low is 761. So yeah, yeah. So that's interesting. I mean, we did sweep the low of this candle here. So the hopium would be to at least get a bounce back to the mid range of this candle, which would be a nice little move. I don't know how exactly that pans out, but something like that maybe. So I do think that trade is a possibility still for alts. There aren't a ton of alts that look amazing. If I consult the old spaghetti chart here, kind of get a window into what has been performing for the month. Worth noting that Mantle has actually taken the lead and shown itself to be the strongest coin in existence at the moment, which is interesting. FARTCOIN has come back to earth a little bit, still outperforming. So you got FARTCOIN, you've got BCH. That's a great sign. Let's see. There's your FARTCOIN up there. This is ETH has been doing okay. I think Aave is up here somewhere. Link's been doing okay. We talked about Link. So it's worth kind of looking at some of these charts and seeing if they provide like an opportunity. I still like FARTCOIN. I think the 2-week chart here looks pretty solid, right? So I think at a minimum there's a trade here at some point up to the high of this 2-week candle, which we haven't swept. This is kind of a nice reversal candle, close above the prior 2 weeks. So looking for something to form there. Worth noting that if I just go to last week's candle, bullish candle, inside candle. So my baseline expectation would basically be a sweep of the prior week range back inside this range and then go to the high, right? So that's whether we already did that or we come down a little lower. Like we could be forming the Monday range right now. Well, we are forming the Monday range right now. So here's your Monday high. Actually, let's do it this way. There's your Monday high right here. There's your Monday low. So given the context of all of this, like what I would be looking for is maybe tomorrow. There's a lot of economic data coming out tomorrow, right? We got a whole bunch of excitement tomorrow and CPI Thursday. But we got ADP, weekly employment change, average hourly earnings, core retail sales, non-farm employment change, retail sales, unemployment rate, PMI, flasher, all this stuff tomorrow. So when I look at this and I'm bullish coming into the week, I'm thinking like maybe high probability form Monday consolidation range. Tuesday news manipulates the low of the Monday range, and then we go higher. So would definitely be looking for long entries tomorrow morning on stuff that is bullish. So you could see FARTCOIN maybe put in a little sweep of the Monday low, right, and then kind of come back up here to take this high. Are we going to have a full-blown breakout at this point? I would like to believe, but little sus to me at the moment. So like I still think really high time frame. This chart looks interesting, but like I don't know that I'm comfortable taking this for much more than like a trade. I'm guessing we'll probably enter somewhere around 33 and probably take this to like 41 41.6, and that'll be a nice trade. It'll be a nice trade. Probably leave like a runner in case it does break out, but that's kind of general thing I'm thinking this week on FARTCOIN. Mantle, again, one of the stronger looking coins in crypto for reasons that I'm not really aware of, but like if we zoom out and look at this chart, this is actually a pretty good looking chart, right? Here's your monthly fair value gap, high time frame zone, close above right here. And so, yeah, I would think like a long here would at least be able to be taken up to. This is kind of a nasty wick, so like I would maybe just be looking to kind of sell into the mid range of this wick, as opposed to just going for new all time highs. But that's still a pretty good. It's still a pretty good trade setup here. And yeah, like on the weekly, look, we got a candle coming into this area, sweep, expansion candle, right? Close above. So I'm, I'm looking on the lower time frame to see some sort of pullback in this prior week candle, ideally above the mid range. And you can see we actually tagged the mid range this morning. So maybe a similar thing here where we're putting in the Monday low here and we get a little sweep of the Monday low back inside and then take that up to this week's high as a main target. I guess you could hold some. I think generally speaking, like a long from like here to here, right? So $1.20 or so to 232 is probably generally speaking like an interesting long. I think that sets up pretty well with the monthly candles. So for whatever reason, Mantle looks pretty strong. Again, though, like I don't know, like I'm very sus on this going to new all-time highs. Maybe come back in here, pull back, do something else, and then maybe take a long. Right now, I'm just kind of thinking about taking this to the high of last week on kind of like a shorter time frame trade. But it looks potentially promising. Link, I still think looks like pretty good on like a really, really high time frame basis. Still kind of just this monthly order block here, right? This is what gave you the close above this range. It's been respected, by the wicks like pretty nicely, and we're trading back into it right now. The weekly setup, it doesn't look amazing, to be honest. We had a reversal candle here, but then we swept that high out. So, like another sweep here is actually not going to surprise me. I was pretty bullish link around here, coming into the month, but once we kind of swept this high out here and then started dumping. Then I got to start wondering if these lows here are kind of back in play. So some sort of sweep into like 11 or so. It could be an interesting setup for a final bottom to form. It wouldn't shock me if we bottomed in here. Like it's not impossible. Would really want to see this. This kind of CSD area respected with a daily close. I don't want to start closing below 1275 or so. But if we put in some daily candles closing above here, and then we get kind of like a sweep, that could be an interesting entry as well. But like really high time frame, I think that just buys here are probably good if you have patience. Medium time frame, probably looking for like a sweep setup down here, and then like for shorter time frame trades, I think we could see some sort of daily sweep maybe forming in this area, and that could provide an entry. But like I don't like just nakedly buying in here. I think it's probably asking for trouble. ETH has been strong, but like what I was telling people is like we put in this bearish monthly expansion candle, didn't really even touch this the body of this monthly order block yet. So I kind of wonder if this is still a magnet pulling us lower. That move we had, right, is just sort of a move back to the mid-range of the prior bearish monthly candle, right? And I think on the 2-week chart, yeah, you can especially see this on the 2-week chart. This is basically like this fractal here from the wicks. There's a bearish zone, which we are currently rejecting from. And then last week, we also put in, you can see here, so we swept out prior week's high. And when we did that, we also put in the bearish CSD in doing that. You have one up here, but like there was like a really, was it on the daily? Yeah, I mean, it's looking like this daily candle is going to close as a bearish CSD, right? Which basically means that I think this just kind of dumps for these lows now at this point. Would be my read. But that could be interesting. It could be interesting down here. Like if stocks end up holding up and things look chill, and we kind of tag this 2500-ish area, put in a kind of some sort of a daily sweep fractal to go with the monthly. It could look interesting for a bounce. That would be a really interesting area to long from. The problem I have is that like I'm starting to look ahead to the yearly candle, which I think is going to look quite bad. I think I already drew out this scenario for you guys, right? But like if we were to end the yearly candle here, like I would just tell you that we're going here next year, 879 at a minimum, and then we're probably going to the low of this candle, 715, and then buying ETH long term I think is like interesting down here, right? So a high time frame, this looks totally fucked. Short time frame, this looks pretty fucked. Medium time frame, I can see a move happening maybe from another sweep into this area, right? Like I could maybe see another sweep happening and then a bounce. But I still think this bounce is going to be like, dead cat status. And I think, you could have a situation where you open up 2026, you get a move up, and then good night. Right? So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. I know somebody in the Discord asked me about like XRP for a short. I think XRP looks pretty interesting for a short. The entry is a large question mark for me. So being able to put a lot of size on, I don't know. The yearly candle is almost certainly going to close like pretty badly. I suppose like we could close this as like a green candle, like if we get above 207, right? But if this candle were to close like this, again, we would be looking at a similar setup we have to ETH, where we might be taking this down to 41 cents or so. Right? That's basically like us taking out all of this consolidation. And, if I were to think about this like on the monthly chart, which I would pair with the yearly, like if I look at the monthly chart, I do see that we already got this is already a bearish CSD here with the close of November, and then we already tested this to start the month, and now we're dumping. So it is possible that this nuke is actually underway, and I would not hate positioning for that. I wouldn't hate it, but it's like it's messy to me. It's messy to me. I mean, one of the reasons it's messy is that like this July candle, like although last month's candle was kind of ugly, like we didn't actually even close outside of the July candle. So I think there's a possibility for us to sweep out some of these lows and have like a move way back up in here like this. So I'm just hesitant to short it now. And maybe that's fishy, but I would yeah, I would worry about us running these lows and just pulling some nasty little nasty little move. If I had my if I had my wish list and I could wave a magic wand, like I would love to short like up in here. Um, 270 to 290 or so. Do we get that move? Maybe. It's possible. It's important to note that this is still like your high time frame bullish zone. Like we haven't put in like a lower low yet, even. So I am worried about kind of sweeps in the bottom of the range, just running up very rapidly to the top of the range. Um, there's probably some closure we could get here on the weekly time frame where this. Yeah, I mean, God, even on the weekly, we put in a CSD on the weekly too. So yeah, this looks pretty bad. But even this signal just kind of tells me that like we're probably gonna sweep out this. So if you short, yeah, like I guess you can short to here. What I would worry about still though is like a move like this, and then like you get liquidated and then it dumps more. Like I don't know that this breaks out and then just goes one way only to, straight to hell. So yeah, I guess in summary on XRP, like it does look like bearish as fuck. High time frame. I I don't know how to frame a really good entry here. Like the best I could maybe tell you is like to maybe consider this to be like a bearish weekly order block, and maybe we sweep Monday high into this order block, and then you can get a trade down here. But even if this happens, like I think in order to get any sort of decent risk reward on this, you have to basically frame a trade like this. That like doesn't quite even get you 2 to 1. Like if you get it a little higher, maybe you can get like barely a 2 to 1 trade, and then you kind of have to just TP like, I don't know, 75-80% of the trade. And if it gives you a runner to dump, cool, but like you have to understand there's just like a high chance it comes back and stops you out. Like maybe you break even the trade and just hope you get the dump. That's the way I would approach it. Otherwise, I would be looking for some sort of move back up higher into the range, ideally. Ideally, my ideal mega high time frame short setup for XRP is that we close this year's candle something like this, and then there would be the expectation, like this is the wick. This would be your yearly wick up here. And then so next year there would be an expectation that you trade up somewhere into the wick to start the year, and then hopefully find a short like up here higher in the range, and then you take that all the way down to 40 cents or so. Booyah! I already looked at gold. I pulled it up very quickly. It's just bullish. It's bullish as all hell. Um, this is the gold monthly chart. It just goes up only. You guys should just own gold because it goes up, and that's my advanced analysis on it. Um, if I were to get a little micro on it, I think there is some reason to be concerned around this high. It wouldn't stun me if we kind of like nicked it and did something like that and then went up like that. That is a possibility to me. Would be a interesting opportunity if so. I'm trying to think if there's like a setup on the 3-month chart where this would even make sense. I don't know. Like my ideal scenario to enter gold with more size would be to say like, okay, here's a 2-week order block into a fair value gap. It's produced a nice move. I would like to see a closure above this high, right? Some sort of closure, and then maybe we get a pullback into here, and then this becomes like a really interesting long. Thinking ahead. Otherwise, you're you're doing lower time frame trades, framed around prior week candle. Even here, this is like I wouldn't be taking longs here on anything other than like kind of like the minute 15-minute chart scalp type things, just because you're at range highs and it's just not very appealing to do so. It would be appealing if you got a pullback leaving these highs. Like imagine you leave these highs and we get a pullback kind of into this 41 area. That is interesting to me because you have this weekly order block. This is the close above that weekly order block. You can see price has not come back down into this order block. And then we also have this fair value gap chilling here, right? So I think if gold leaves this high intact, and the reason I say that is because if you take the high and sweep it, you're in danger of price doing sort of like an edge to edge trade for the range. So range high and then come back down and take range low and then maybe go. So these entry areas might be no goes, right? Like you want to have your draw on liquidity intact, right? So again, basically weekly order block. You'd say maybe this is my draw up here, and if we dump from here, we would have all these equal highs up here, which would be super attractive, right? So maybe some sort of move into this green area. This would be your weekly order block, and then like I said, you've got a weekly fair value gap here, weekly imbalance here. But what you can end up getting is a move where, like on the low time frame, price trades through the fair value gap into this order block, and then it comes back up, and then you close the weekly as a wick with the closure above the fair value gap and above this weekly low. And then you're pretty golden. Then there's just super high probability that that's going to go up there, right? But if I kind of like, again, do our OTE here, you can kind of see this golden pocket, 0.618, 0.79, lines up pretty nicely with that weekly order block. Yeah, when I zoom in, right, we had the closure above here, we've come back. We've mitigated the mid range. There is still a mid range of this zone here that has not been tagged. And you can see there's like really nice confluence of this mid range with the start of this order block. So I would be looking for some sort of daily candle, ideally some daily consolidation, a little wick, and then frame some sweep setup on like the 1 hour, the 4 hour chart, and then look to take a trade up to here, maybe with a stop like this, right? So you get kind of like nice 2.5 to 1 risk reward. That's how I would think of gold as a trade. I guess like you could buy a long-term position here, if you get a dip to 41.20 or so, this area, because there probably is still a good chance that it just breaks out and then keeps going. And this is as good of a pullback as you have had on gold in a long time. So it's probably prudent, I guess, to just assume that this pullback holds and then it goes. The other thing we haven't talked about this stream that I think is interesting, we took this trade in the Discord last week, and that's the gold miners ETF. I think this has some good potential. I think we could see 120, maybe like 150 on this thing. The monthly, the quarterly chart is looking just incredible, right? So we had the very clean breakout of this high time frame range. We're so strong that we didn't even test it, right? So this is a very strong breakout when you leave like a close above and then a fair value gap like through the high. Like this is breaking out. Like it's very unlikely, in my opinion, that this kind of comes back and goes inside the range after this. And not before going like a lot higher. So this to me, like if we want to do kind of like our basic extension targets here, and see where they line up, you can see like the 1-to-1 lines up pretty nicely with my 2.5 zone, right? So that's about 121. I think we took an entry. Yeah, I think we took an entry around $82. I'm not sold that this breakout is definitely going to hold from this range. It looks okay for now. We did get the weekly close above. We got a kind of weekly order block here. We had a nice move from tap into this weekly for value gap. So I would like to just keep seeing continuation here, right? I would like to just see a tag into this order block this week and then print like another weekly expansion candle. Hopefully everything's all chill. I think we're currently stopping out of this like 72. I think if this goes sub 72, we probably need to look for a new setup to get involved. But pretty attractive to me because this, basic 2-to-1 target here at 102 seems like very, very doable. And then, like I said, I think at least like 118, 120 or so on gold miners. Gold miners have been like, the bane of the existence of every portfolio manager for a while, but like this chart looks like freaking incredible. I mean, look at how long this went sideways for. This is like 6,000 days of sideways. What is that, like almost, is that 17 years? 17 years of sideways and we just broke out. Like I think you guys got to own this. I think you guys got to own this, right? Looks pretty sick. I'm going to wrap things up pretty soon. If anybody has anything else in the chat you guys want to drop for questions, requests, would be happy to get to them before we wrap it up here. But to just kind of like TLDR this stream for you, I guess. We really like the Tesla. The Tesla looks great. We think that hopefully indexes look weak because Nvidia looks weak. because all of the other stocks in the index, the big boys, like Tesla, like Microsoft, which although looks kind of sus on the lower time frame, I maintain is like probably a good spot to look for a long here. Meta looks good from here, in my opinion. I think we need to look for another entry signal on the lower time frame, but this area looks really, really good for a reversal. So that looks chill. Rivian looking great up to the 2024 high. And then we probably look to see how the yearly candle closes and look to maybe position for another big move at the beginning of next year. So that's all well and good and interesting. I think that what else are we looking at here? Yeah, crypto, like I said, not looking great. We're thinking we go at least 83 or so on Bitcoin, but like this sweeping this low again, 80K, highly probable. A lot of alts look pretty bad. Still do think that FARTCOIN, Mantle we talked about looks like pretty strong. Some select opportunities for upside trades, but like as you can see in TradFi land, just so many things like so much better. Forgot about silver too. Like, just I mean, why are we buying shit coins? Why? Looks incredible. Definitely gonna be looking for some silver longs this week in the Discord. So stay tuned for that. Oh, speaking of the Discord, big announcement. Big announcement. Last week, we soft launched the new Magic Lines Discord to the premium guys, just trying to get the kinks out. That is now officially open as of today. The free Magic Lines Discord. It is going to be like a really, really sick community for all things trading and investing. It's been really